I recently tackled New Super Mario Bros. Wii backwards, and if you haven't seen it yet, well, go watch it so you can come back after witnessing the pure horror and agony. Yeah, that challenge didn't go so hot. A lot of the stages couldn't be completed, but I have some more confidence for New Super Mario Bros. 2 for, no particular reason. Now, before beginning, let's really quick clarify the rules. We have to try to beat the game while playing backwards, and warps are allowed if we get stuck at a level. A big thank you to Explos for modding every level, and he asks that you all check out and subscribe to the Next Team channel. Speaking of subscribing, don't forget to smash the button here as well. But with all that said, let's dive right into this challenge. So before recording, I tested the mod to see if it works, and I originally thought it would be impossible on 1-1 because I couldn't defeat this stack of Goombas. But of course, New Super Mario Bros. 2 gives us the invincibility leaf after losing 5 lives, and that is literally the only reason we can complete this level. We're at 1-1 and we're already forced to use this. Oh boy. For 1-2, we go down this pipe and we're seemingly trapped, but thankfully, we can use the Tanuki tail and break our way out. Outside of that, this level is painless. 1-3 requires us to have a Tanuki, so I went ahead and grabbed the invincibility leaf to get up this hill. Although personally, after this, I'm gonna try to refrain from using this leaf unless it's for emergencies only. Otherwise, it makes levels way too easy. Or maybe I spoke too soon, as one tower stops us before making any progress. There is an alt exit in this level, but as you can see, we can't reach it. So already, it is not possible to beat New Super Mario Bros. 2 backwards. This might officially be the fastest we have ever lost a challenge, but let's see how the rest of the game plays out. 1-4 was simple enough, and the same for 1-5, although I did almost get eaten. Ugh. With 1A, I need to move this switch thing, but I don't have any way of pushing it down. Now yes, there is another pipe that I can use that takes me to a secret area, but when I leave this area, it doesn't solve my problem at all. Good thing that one castle was easy as all can be. It was actually pretty short in comparison to a lot of the castles I played in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. So with that, let's get into World 2. Now you might be wondering, why am I using the invincibility leaf for a stage that isn't very hard? Well, this mod had an interesting bug for about a quarter of these levels. For some reason, there's an invisible wall at the very beginning that I couldn't get around, so I'm forced to use the suit to fly over this invis wall. It's really not that big of a deal, but more of a funny thing. With 2-2, I was just kind of playing and finished the level with no sweat. But then comes 2-3. We jump through some sand and get stuck with no way to continue backwards. Goody! 2A was one of the more interesting levels to complete. Most of the ground is just platforms on a path, so not being super familiar with the stage layout, I had to make entirely blind jumps to clear this level. I died a few times simply because I couldn't find anywhere to land, but with trial and error, I eventually got through this one. As for 2 Tower, I avoided some spikes and got stuck yet again. On my first attempt for 2 Ghost House, I got all the way to the point where Behemoth comes in and forces you to go right, and I wasn't really able to get around him without getting hit. So I tried the level again with the invincibility leaf, and this time I was able to avoid taking damage. I flew into the air and pushed Behemoth as far to the left as possible. When I did this and tried to enter the door to go back, it just disappeared. So even with this OP power-up, you still can't clear this because there never was a way to go back. I even managed to fly completely over him somehow, and it kind of broke the game and somehow killed me? I don't know. Besides wall jumping for 30 seconds, 2-4 was much less eventful and an easy clear. And the same goes for 2-5 as well as 2B. 2 Castle was a different story. You're supposed to take these lifts to get across the lava, but we don't have access to those. All we can do is fly from tiny brick block to tiny brick block. My first attempt showed potential, but I was going to need the invincibility leaf to be able to start flight earlier. I tried again and made sure to not fly too high. In doing this, I was able to barely land on the bricks. The next jump was harder because the bricks rotate and I can only stand on 1 unit instead of 3. The next jump was extremely scary because I couldn't really build any speed, but luckily the lift was in reach by the very edge. The next jump looked impossible because the bricks were much higher in the air, but if you take a death, you can use the invisibility leaf block that spawns in and jump right over the thwomps. This next part is where things get real. I have to jump again and land on 1 block and then somehow get to the lift after that. The problem with this is the lift is much farther away than all the other lifts, so I really had to get creative. My only chance is finding a way to build speed to fly, so with multiple attempts, I was building a lot of speed as this set of blocks was rotating. Eventually, I figured out that I needed to jump back, run forward, hit this block as soon as it starts rotating, and jump at the very last second, and that would allow me to build speed to fly. This is a stupidly precise trick, but it does actually work, and it let me beat 2 Castle. So on to World 3. 3-1 was a big fat win for us, and 3-2 went swimmingly. 3-3 was super easy, but 3A was not. As soon as we dove into the water, we were stuck and pressed against the wall. This level has a lot of water currents that force Mario to move right, so we're kind of at a loss here. I tried to beat the current with the invincibility leaf and even the mini mushroom, but I couldn't do anything to fight it. For 3 Tower, I was able to get pretty close to the end, but these slabs of rock don't reopen after they close, so Mario was just trapped in this room until he drowns, I guess. With 3-4, you just hop over the poison and take the W, and the same for 3B. Once we go through this door in 3 Ghost House though, we end up trapped in this room unable to make additional progress. 3-5 was comically easy because instead of the boulders and bloopers being obstacles, I basically just observe everything as I casually swim through. And for 3 Castle, I had to damage boost through these spikes since I had no idea where they were gonna be. But beyond that, you can beat this level and we can move on to World 4. Like the previous water level, a giant spike boulder was rolling in front of me, which eliminated basically all the challenge. With 4 Ghost House, we're supposed to enter the door from the bottom, but trying to do that makes it vanish. There's also a door at the top of this building, but we can't enter that unless we're stationary, essentially trapping us outside. After that was 4-2, and it was fairly simple to knock out. For 4A, I tried to make this jump and just wasn't able to get high enough. But at least you can easily go underneath with Mini Mario and finish the level that way, and 4B was fairly easy as well. Do I need to say more? For 4-3, I needed to fly over this gap, but otherwise it was painless to finish. 4-4, 4-5, 4C, and 4 Castle were more of the same thing. After that long string of wins, we can check out World 5 next. 5-1 was extremely short and simple, and so was 5-2. 5-3 required a little bit of damage boosting over these spikes, but you could still beat it. Like previous Ghost Houses, you can't go back into the door, so this one couldn't be done. And big whoopee surprise, we're stuck at yet another tower! Who could have seen that coming? Following that is 5-4, which was a walk in the park. But then there was 5A. Normally, a pirate ship takes you across the entire level, but we can't use that. So instead, I had to very carefully time my flight and bounce off of these 2 Koopas to land on a very small platform. This does work, but it took a ton of tries to get down. There was also a very precise jump I had to make here, but other than that, 5A was possible. 5-5 was much simpler, and so was 5-6. With 5 Castle, we didn't get stuck right away, thank God, but we still didn't get far. I have to clear a large portion of lava without much to stand on. With the invincibility leaf, I could fly somewhat close to the ground, but even with optimal flight, I wasn't even getting close. So with World 5 done, let's move on to World 6. 6-1 was not very welcoming. The platforms usually form on their own once you step into them, but there's a huge gap I have to somehow clear still. This part took a few tries, but once I got about halfway through this lava segment, I needed to make sure I could build speed while also taking out meteorites so the ground wouldn't become uneven. It took about 10 tries or so, but I eventually got the speed I needed to clear this segment. After that, 6-1 was pretty easy to finish. Nope. So 6-2 was another adventurous level. You usually ride on this dry bones thing, but instead, we're going to be flying around and landing on question mark blocks. The first one is very hard because I have to start by getting flight on the right, then fly fast enough to the block, make sure I pixel perfect jump so I regain all my health stamina, and finally make it to the next set of question mark blocks. After that, I had to jump to a few more blocks, and that's about it. The other half of 6-2 was a lot easier because I could just fly around on the top. There's a lot of platforms to use. 6-3 was basically a stroll in the neighborhood. For 6A, we can get all the way to the end, but there's no way for us to reach the pipe for us to exit. Even with the invincibility leaf, we're not quite able to get to the full height to reach the pipe. 6B was a bit easier, but I did need to make sure to stay as high as possible or I would run out of platforms to run on. And for 6 Tower, we got a big rejection. Again, big whoop-de-doo, who would have thought? And for 6-4, I did a massive jump and ended up not getting anywhere close to a platform. But lucky for us, we made a new friend called Gold Blocky. Now this little guy is awesome because he likes to fly, and he takes us across this entire section. This is why he's my new best friend, because we beat 6-4 with Gold Blocky's help. Aw, thanks buddy old pal. And 6-5 was a joke because all the obstacles were going with me instead of against me, with or without the suit on. And we finally made it to 6 Final Castle. Now, Explos told me that he wasn't able to modify 6 Final Castle because the game kept crashing whenever he tried to edit anything, so what I did was I played through the level normally and just added save states at the doors so when I tried them backwards, I can switch save states as if the level was modded. And I can tell you this, this level is, it's definitely not possible because of the lava rising segment. It gets in the way and there's nothing you can do about it. But we're not quite done there. There's still 3 bonus worlds to try out. And of course there's G Fuel, which will help us get through the rest of these levels. Make sure to use code BANDY for 30% off. Mushroom 1 was a great beginning, as playing this level was ridiculously easy. But for Mushroom 2, this middle barrier is closed shut, making it impossible to beat. For the Ghost House, you need switches to open these blue barriers, and as you'd expect, we can't reach them. For Mushroom 8, we're following spikes from behind again, but unfortunately we get stuck. We can still take this blue pipe, and that leads us to another pipe farther down the level, but for some reason, the spike ball just chooses to not break open the barrier. Look, I imagine Mario has to activate a hitbox for it to work, but come on, you're a big ass spike ball, just break the freaking thing in front of you, come on! Mushroom B is by far the weirdest NSMB level I've ever played backwards. So it scrolls down, which obviously it would since we're playing it backwards, but here's the weird thing. There's 2 sections in this level where a mushroom head covers the entire area, and you would think Mario would get squished by a death barrier, right? Well, actually no. As you're seeing now, Mario is falling down as if nothing even happened, because there never was a death barrier on the top of the screen. I think what's happening here is the objects despawn, but Mario never does, which is why he can pass through them. Now look, this might seem like a super epic life hack, and it is, up until the very end. Once you see that last pipe, oh, you're just thinking, oh, of course, oh, let me just despawn this mushroom and finish the level, but nope, the camera decides to finally stop scrolling, which traps Mario up top. The final pipe is like 10 feet away and we can't do anything about it. I'm sad, but also this level's just super weird and interesting, so whatever. But after all of that, Mushroom 3 was beatable, and Mushroom Castle was too, so let's head into World Flower. With Flower 1, it felt like picking a bunch of flowers, but in Flower Ghost House, it felt like I was picking Poison Ivy. As soon as Behemoth appeared, it was all over. I have no way of getting past him without getting squished or the camera coming to a halt. The beginning of Flower A had a jump that shouldn't have been that hard, but the problem was the ceiling was so low that I couldn't quite clear it. I must have tried this jump 50 times and just could not get over there, so I switched to Mini Mario and was able to barely make the jump and also not die. And everything was going fine after that, up until this part. Of course, everything comes to a halt after all of that effort. But luckily, Flower B was a clean victory, and so was Flower 2. I did have a pretty scary jump at the beginning, but with a good amount of speed, the jump wasn't that bad. Flower 3 had one part where I needed to bounce off a couple Koopa Troopa to make a jump, but I've been playing for so long that it's kinda just second nature now. And Flower Castle was possible as well, so let's finish up with World Star. Star 1 has a couple jumps that require the Tanuki suit, but otherwise it was painless. The same goes for Star 2, Star 3, Star 4, Star 5, Star 6, and Star 7. And after that entire streak of wins for World Star, Star Castle isn't possible in the slightest. Look, you can jump as far as you want with a Tanuki suit, but you'll never get close to landing. I gotta say, I had to be a lot more creative with these levels than New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which was kind of refreshing. Also, the Tanuki tail is the only reason we could clear as many levels as we did. There were so many big gaps and brick blocks in the way that could be broken with the Tanuki tail. Out of the 81 stages, 24 weren't possible. And you wanna know what's hilarious about that? That's 29% of stages unbeatable, which happens to be the exact same percentage as New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But what about New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U? Well, we're gonna get to those very soon, so stay tuned for those videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Until next time.